this. You guys, here you go. It's some photos of us. Good morning, everyone. We just wanted to come and share with you something that's a little bit different. You know, hands up those of you who've been using the products for a while now, for at least, is that one better? For at least 12 months. Okay, there's a lot of you. Hands up those of you who are brand new and just checking this out for the first time. Okay, there's a well done. Kudos to you guys. So you may have been dragged here. This is totally okay. Or you may have come along willingly, but what we'd like to share with you is something that is, you know, is a little different. Do you want to share the story of what happened to you and Adam?
Yeah, well, yeah, actually, I was talking to a particular person in Adelaide, and they said to me, "Hey, Lox, you should probably present at the celebration. That was really exciting." And I said, "Oh, well, I've actually presented at the celebration a few times." And he went, "Oh, right, yeah, that's right. You present on the products. Yeah, that's usually when I leave." So we thought, hey, you know, we've got a group of people that most of you have seen a lot to do with the products. We're here for a reason. We know the products work. So spending a little bit more time on how to best utilize the products and bring them to life to get the best result, we thought would be a really great use of that time. What do you think? Yeah.
But before we do that, I just wanted to, we thought, I'd really like to share a little bit about maybe how we started, you know, using the products. And then a little bit about, Lockie and I actually knew each other prior to ISAGENIX. So for me, has anyone heard me speak before? Yeah. Okay, there's quite a few of you. Who hasn't heard either of us speak before? Okay, so bear with us for the repetition. But about it's nearly 8 years ago now, I was working with one of Australia's lead 400-metre hurdlers. You may have heard of Young Pittman. And she was using the products, and all I wanted to do was take a look at them to make sure there was nothing illegal. I wasn't going to get the blame for inadvertent doping. And I took a look at them, and I was quite happy for her to use them, but that was about it. A few nice things. Young said a few nice things to the current general manager at the time, Sharon Walsh, and I started a consulting relationship with the company about 8 years ago. And the reason why I chose to partner with this company is for the same reason that I am still here, and that is because these products are of the highest quality, of the highest ethics that I have ever seen in my 14 years of sports nutrition and nutrition practice. So fast forward the clock, I still personally use the products, I still recommend the products. For those of you who know me, I did a short stint in corporate because I really wanted to make a stand for the clinical uses and quality of the products. And I'm sitting here today as part of the field today. This is kind of like the virgin re-entry of the field, but I'm so humbled and so proud to be here today. And Lockie and I go way back, and I'll let you share your story about how you came to the product.
I saw some rumblings of ISAGENIX work in Queensland, where we were based in the Victoria Fitness Academy. We were running a nutrition course there for the diploma guys at the Victoria Fitness Academy. And I thought I'd get on board with this ISAGENIX and become a silent user. We can relate that. Anyone to know that I'm on the products. But I learned straight away that there was something really in these products that were fantastic. You know, were quick to absorb. I felt the results were great. And I just felt, for those of you that have really worked with athletes, people that regular gym goers, people that are used to taking protein powders, that sort of thing, it usually doesn't take long for them to realise that these are really great products. They're good people to kind of measure on our field. So I knew straight away it was good clean products, and so I called up the ISAGENIX head office. At the time it was only very basic. 4 admin staff there just copping it because I called up and I wanted some answers on some of the ingredients and different things that were going on. And when Danny and I were running this course, we had the supplement component. She always hand-warmed me the supplement component because she much preferred the whole foods. She was big on that. Even though she had regular sponsorship from the teams in which she was working with, etc., she wasn't really big on it because she was just so focused on the whole food stuff, which I really appreciated and respected about her. This is kind of how we made a good team as well too, because I presented on the supplements and she did the whole food stuff. And yeah, lo and behold, when I said to this lady, I have some answers, she said, oh, actually, I'm not qualified, I'm just head office on admin. I'll put you to someone in the field that will be able to help you out. And Danny had since got married, so I didn't recognise the last name. So I called this foreign lady and said, look, this is Lockie Horner here, I'm just calling through to ask a couple of questions. She said, yeah, Locks, it's Danny, what are you doing? I said, oh, Danny, you don't even like supplements, what are you doing? And so she said, yeah, that's true, but this has really changed the way that I look at working in with my clients, and she said the results have been great. And that's all I really needed from there. I suppose my confidence was instilled from there because I really respected Danny as a dietitian, as a person as well too. And since then, it's been it's a great journey. Obviously, I had the wonderful ability to compare my clients' results before and after ISA. Like I've worked with a lot of different clients all around the country at that stage. I wasn't online at all, but I was working and I did workshops and all sorts of different things. And enter in ISAGENIX, and if you ever do see the before and afters, I'm so proud of our lookbook that we've got post ISAGENIX. I'd already worked with a lot of body transformation, a lot of bodybuilders, a lot of athletes, and we had some exceptional results. So it wasn't coming from a place where the results were already present. When entering ISAGENIX, it was very obvious the difference that we were able to see there, and that's something that speaks for itself, I believe. So, here we go.
Hands up those of you who love, I saw a lot of hands go up, so I'm going to repeat the question. Hands up those of you who love being able to help friends, family, people see the transformations that you've seen within yourself. That's why you guys are here, right? And this is something that we can fall in love with. So, is it okay with you guys if we take a little bit of time to kind of peel back a little bit about what kind of the secret sauce behind ISAGENIX? Would that be okay? Yeah. Awesome. So, Lockie, do you want to take this one?
Sure. So rather than just itemise every product, we want to just sort of do an overview, and then at the end we're going to do some troubleshooting and how to kind of put all this together. Cool. So the quality of the protein is exceptional, and that's one of the things that does separate ISAGENIX. A lot of the time when people are in the supplement game, they like to compare. They like to look at the back of the label and they say, well, this one here has more protein than this one. And we get into this sort of comparison, sort of backwards and forwards. Know that it doesn't really matter how much ingredient is in something necessarily, because really what we're looking at here is more absorption. How much the body is able to take in. We call this bioavailability. So if our products are going to absorb, we're in the best position to get the most from them, and that's what ISAGENIX do really, really well. So oftentimes if I'm ever caught sort of looking at ingredients, I'll often notice the other things that are incorporated to be able to help the absorption process, and that's what really does separate it. So our protein quality is exceptional, and being able to draw a difference between obviously the ISALEAN product and the ISAPRO product. ISAPRO is just our straight protein, which is what we're going to normally have post-workout, so straight after a workout, because it's minus two things that are really important to know and understand. It doesn't have the fibre, it doesn't have the extra fats, which we really need in a meal replacement, which gives us that longevity in the form of a meal replacement, so that we're not searching around for more food. So the ISAPRO is not a meal, okay? It's more of a packing in of good quality protein so the body can absorb it and can go to work. It takes about 20 minutes to absorb ISAPRO. So if you're doing a workout, so if we're going after a good strength workout and we're having a scoop and a half is a recommended dose of the ISAPRO, it's going to go to work in about 20 minutes. The closest to that would be something like fish. It's probably 2.5 hours, somewhere in that sort of vicinity. So you see, when we talk in terms of absorption, we're talking being able to make it available to the body. And this is where a lot of the time people would say things like, well, you get that same amount of protein from the food you eat. And that's true. You never want to try and get into that argument. It's never a case of one or the other. But what we are looking at is absorption. The fact is that when your metabolism's nice and high and you've done a really hard workout, putting in some whey protein so that it can absorb by the body and go to work is a much better bet, because you're harnessing that period there after you work out where your metabolism's up a bit and your body is reaching out for nutrients and pulling in so that it can go to work. Does that make sense? Yeah? Whereas, you can have the tuna, you can have the fish, or you can have the protein source which you want to choose, but it's not going to have that same sort of absorption and that key sort of timing that you want post-workout.
And I think definitely second that, because you took me back to like the Danny of 10 years ago, who I really had a challenge with recommending protein supplements outside of the very elite sports nutrition network. And hearing you speak about all of that, just to reiterate, so I said all of the protein, so the high quality undenatured whey protein is something like 99% digested and absorbed. And as Lockie's saying, it's really quick. You don't want to spend time, especially if it's post-workout, you don't want to spend time digesting and trying to get those nutrients into your system. You want them to be available straight away. So yeah, absolutely. Do you want to talk a little bit about the difference of isolate versus isolate pro?
Sure. Yeah, so then isolate and then Isopro got together and had a baby. Who remembers back when we didn't have Isolene Pro? We had Isolene and we had Isopro, and we would just put them together, right? We just needed a little bit more protein to keep us full for longer, but also too, if you were doing more activity, we wanted our high protein to go to work so we can protect our muscles and all the above. Yeah. So they brought out Isolene Pro to kind of combine the two. One of the things that Danny and I were chatting leading up into this is that quite often times I think when people that are recommending these products come across a person that is maybe looking at doing some activity, they say, well, if you're doing some activity, then Isolene Pro is going to be for you. I would jump in and sort of say, look, it really depends on the person's intensity. Really, exercise it's not so much just the answer to getting every result that you want. It's the intensity behind the exercise that you're doing that makes the difference. It's not one exercise that's this beautiful, end result of what you need to be able to get where you want to go. It's the effort that you put behind it. So when we're talking about supplements that are going to fit the bill, you need to have a look at the type of activity and the intensity that person is going to be carrying out. So if we've got Isolene Pro, we've got a person that is really going after it, okay? They're really stepping up. And because of that, we need a little extra. And when it's in the form of a calorie-controlled protein supplement that's got all the goodies in it, I couldn't pick a better little slot in your day that you can have that as a catalyst for your metabolism from here on in. So that's where it sort of fits perfectly. But when you're starting off, I would say Isolene is a much better bet to get started, and then when your body requires it, then upgrade through to the Isolene Pro. Cool?
Yeah. And just for the newbies in the room, remembering that so the Isolene shake comes in at 24 grams of protein, which is roughly equivalent to maybe what you would get from about 100 grams of lean chicken breast or 100 grams of, say, lean red meat. But the Isolene Pro comes in at around 36 grams of protein, which again is more like 150, getting closer to sort of the 200 grams of meat. And that's for the real newbies, because I know there's a lot of people that already know that. Lockie, do you want to have a chat about, because we often see the bars, what's better, the bars versus the shakes, and you're the king when it comes to this.
Oh, thank you. No, we put this slide in because I've been asked this a lot of times, and I think we've worked out a way to put this beautifully, okay? Because there is like this concept of hockey doesn't like bars. It's not a case of hockey.
It's not about that.
It's not about that. So it's okay. So we've got this wonderful bar that I feel is the best bar on the market. Okay, so we've got protein packed in there, all your goodies packed in there. However, when we look at a shake, it is a live culture that's readily absorbed. So the comparison is not so much, it's got the same amount of protein, does the same thing, but again, what's going to go to work more effectively. And there's a reason why the bar comes in a 10-pack, and then we've got 4 tubs of the shake in a pack, for instance.
So 10 bars versus 54 meals in a smoothie, right?
Which means you don't sort of just decide that, oh, I'm just going to go from shakes to bars now. I mean, look, if you're coming into this whole weight loss regime and you see this beautiful, tasty bar, and I mean, it's a wonderful little chew in the course of your day compared to trying to eat rabbit food, that's got to be a godsend, right? You're going to be looking at that thinking, oh, this is so easy. I'm getting bars and smashing, yummy shakes. And that's a wonderful culture, I suppose, that certainly surrounds Isagenix, is that our products taste great. But the reality is as well too, if someone is on that weight loss journey, if they are overweight, one of the key things that we need to do is increase feeding frequency. Because a lot of the time an overweight person might be eating 1, maybe 2 meals a day, but obviously the food might not be too fantastic. So being able to spread out those meals and having a bar can act as a beautiful catalyst to drive that metabolism throughout the course of the day. The difference is that once your body now has adjusted, and certainly just making a few changes, maybe even getting out and doing a little bit of exercise, the body's going to take that up very quickly and you're going to lose some weight very, very fast. However, we need to kind of readjust at a certain point here because, of course, the body is an amazing adaptable machine. And what got you the initial weight loss won't necessarily be what's going to get you to the next phase, because your body now has moved from a 4-cylinder engine to a V6, and we need to kind of upgrade now to an 8-cylinder engine. All right, so to do that, we've got to start changing and being able to I suppose, refine things a little bit more and not go away from your food either. One of the things I think that there is a culture that because this stuff tastes so good that that's it, I'm just living off supplements from here on in. And that's not what we want at all. Obviously there's benefits to both sides. And when you look at being able to digest solid food, you get this wonderful drive in your metabolism that you just don't get from supplements, mainly because your body doesn't have to work hard to break it down. So the drive of the metabolism from the whole solid food and the absorption from the supplements to complement that is just a beautiful synergy which we want to promote. Okay, right from the get-go. So the difference between the bars and the shakes is that yes, the bars are a great fit, but we use them sporadically. Okay, and yes, if you're on the move and etc., it's good. But really, is it much harder to bring a shake with, a little bit of powder in there, and add a little bit of water, shaky, and if people say, "Well, I can't at work," who here has a job where they're banned you from drinking throughout the course of the day? If you have got this sort of a job, we need to call the authorities because that's abuse.
So can you allow?
All right. So there's always a way to be able to fit this in your everyday.
So bottom line is the best way to use them is they are designed as snacks. So particularly if you are on a weight loss mission, if you are, ideally, and this is a very general advice. Of course, there's going to be some variation, but generally speaking, half a bar is a perfect snack. Or if you're, it's much better than going for the Snickers attack or something like that. If you are desperate, so it's definitely better than say, maybe a muesli bar or a conventional kind of, I'm going to go all American here, but candy bar, as they would say, or like some sort of like chocolate bar. But just bear in mind that if you're relying on the bars and substituting for the shakes, that you may not see the results that you may have first had when you started adopting this strategy. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay, brilliant.
If you leave a bar in the car, like a little bit of the bar in the car, and it's there for a couple of hours and you come back to the car, it's fine, isn't it? But if you leave a bit of your shake,
that's growing stuff.
Just give you a bit of an idea of how alive and kicking that is. That's going off. Yeah?
Who's done the live fitness growth experiment for empty shake in the car? And then even just for 12 hours, that is nasty, right? That's just to show you right the growth and the life cultures that exist. One last point I want to make here about the protein and the meal in a smoothie. And for those of you who either at the start were a little bit was very much a closet user for about 4 months, as Lockie mentioned before. But I remember reading testimonials of people like scraping and licking the sides of the blender. And I remember thinking, what are these guys on? What are they thinking? Guess who does that now? It is like ice cream in a smoothie. So the important thing for me, I'm sure it's on a lot of our radars as well, is who's really conscious about the waste and reducing the amount of food waste that their own household contributes to. Okay, there's probably about half of you. What are you guys doing, the rest of you? No, I'm just kidding. One of the big things that comes from having a smoothie, right, you think about it, there is, let me just put it in this scenario for you. Who's gone to the farmers markets with all of the very best intentions, loaded up on their green veg and their fruit and other vegetables, and with unless you're really dedicated to your meal prep, you've had a rotting vegetable crisper, kind of week on week, with the best laid plans, okay, the best laid plans to make healthy meals, but life gets busy, life gets in the way. There's some statistic that it's something like we will throw away 1 out of every 4 bags of groceries every week that we take home from the supermarket. And the same, I'm sure the statistic is similar for, to the farmers market. Now compare that, I'm not saying you should have all of your meals from a smoothie, but think about the impact that we can have on having, our meal where it's 2 scoops of shake, we just add water, blend it up, it's beautiful, creamy, delicious, there's a smoothie, the food enjoyment's there, but there's very, very little food waste from not using efficiently and effectively what we purchase. So there's a big story to be shared. And I really want to run some numbers on the contribution that we make. So more on that. So let's talk about secret sauce number 2, which is the intermittent fasting component. And I was thinking as I was driving here, what's one way of reducing our food waste? This is not eat. No, I'm just kidding. I joke. But there is a growing body of science and literature that has been going over the last 10 years, and we will see a continued increase in more and more science over the next 10 years as we start to learn about the most optimal strategies for intermittent fasting. Hands up those who are familiar with some of the science. Okay, there's some of you. Hands up those of you who'd like to learn a little bit more about the science behind it. Okay, good. Awesome. That was like more than half of you, so we'll go ahead with what we've planned. There are so many benefits to intermittent fasting as we start to learn. So Lockie and I want to touch on really the top 3 benefits. And the thing is that you can do, I've said this before, you can do intermittent fasting without ISAGENIX, right? But is it particularly fun? I'll say no. Hands up those of you who did do intermittent fasting prior to ISAGENIX. Would you go back to it, doing it without ISAGENIX? There's no hands up. That was the right answer. Absolutely. There are so many different protocols now that you can, for juice cleanses and, celery fast, all that sort of stuff. But the bottom line is that we've done this from the company's inception, which is 18 years. For 18 years, we've been the industry leader in not only in the protocol of intermittent fasting, but the nutritional support that a cleanse day provides our bodies with. And if you want to go back to ISAGENIXhealth.net and have a look at some of the cleansing science, it's all there. There's a plethora of articles. But the bottom line is that when on a cleanse day, while your body is going to work, we're going to talk a little bit more about this, while your body is going to work to clean itself up, because of the nutrition that we provide on a cleanse day, it's less stressed about it. It's got the nutrients that it needs to harness our natural processes. And so one thing that I often hear where dietitians will take a bit of a closed-minded view on intermittent fasting, particularly cleanse days, is that there is a small difference in the language that we use. We are not claiming that cleanse days or intermittent fasting does the work of our liver and our kidneys, because guess what? Our liver functions 24/7, our kidneys are functioning 24/7 without even thinking about it. What a cleanse day does is it provides it the right environment, the right time that it needs, the space without being interrupted by constantly, having food come in to be digested, and the right nutrition to support optimal processes. Does that make sense? Okay, awesome. I'm going to stop talking because I get really good at just kind of being on a roll. And I'm going to hand over, do you want to talk a little bit about the body composition effects of intermittent fasting?
Yeah, sure. I think particularly when people are going to be going to the gym and exercising more, they're a bit concerned about cleanse days, because so much of the recommendations that have been given is you've got to eat consistently, and we've got to make sure we get every single meal in place, and then all of a sudden we say, don't eat for a day, and take these little wafers and have this drink and everything's going to be fine. And then you start feeling very hungry, and it might feel very unnatural. You felt that when they first did a cleanse. Yeah, it felt like you were really kind of stretching this out. I remember getting quite anxious and walking past the fridge, I thought going to the movies, take my mind off it, everyone's eating around you. It's not nice, is it?
And everything smells so much better on a cleanse day.
It's heightened, right? So my recommendation there, of course, is to make sure that you understand what's happening in your body, and particularly when you are exercising, that cleanse days often become a little harder. I quite often with my new clients, I said, before I started training with your program, cleanse days were easy. And then all of a sudden they start training and start testing their body, and cleanse days become harder. Why is that? Because your metabolism goes up, so your running speed is up, now you're a V8, so of course going without energy is going to be very noticeable earlier on. But when you know and get good at these cleanse days, it becomes much easier to do. You become a bit of a ninja, because you're experienced fit, you kind of focus on the main thing, getting through the day, keeping yourself busy, these sorts of things. And with the composition changes, I think it's really important. If someone has a challenge with intermittent fasting, particularly when it comes to muscle building, and I'm not just talking about bodybuilders, I'm talking about all of us need to harness as much muscle as what we possibly can. And when I'm talking about, obviously females, not bulking up as such, but just being able to have a healthy amount of muscle that is going to take you through your lifetime to protect yourself. Because understand that muscle mass is directly related to your immunity as well too. If we see someone that's very sick, for instance terminally ill, what's one of the things that we notice first up is that they're quite emaciated, their muscles start to dwindle. So seeing muscle is a very important part of immunity. So if we're going to harness as much muscle as what we possibly can, naturally, obviously, we're going to obviously be in a better place, because after the age of 30, our muscle starts to reduce naturally if we don't do something about it. Okay, age-related sarcopenia is what it's called. And because of that, obviously we want to work against it. It's on average about 0.25, so 1/4 kilo of muscle we lose each year from 30 to 60. Okay, unless we do something about it. So if you imagine then your metabolism is directly related to your muscle mass, 67% of it actually. So how fast you process energy in your body is directly relative to how much muscle you have. More muscle, faster metabolism. Very simple formula. So if your muscle mass is going down, you get the age-old story where someone gets to 45, they say, I don't know what happened. I'm doing everything the same way, and this happened. I just woke up with this. What's going on? Same person, same habits, different muscle mass. You got it? So that's why you learn so much of protein, for instance, is actively involved in being able to protect muscle. So when we're looking at cleanse days to keep muscle, the concern is we're going on a cleanse day. Quite oftentimes, if you analyse what's happening with a person's muscle mass, it could potentially go down, and that's where the people that have a problem with it are focused on. But understand that coming out from the cleanse day, there's something quite special that occurs, which is this beautiful drive of growth hormone. And that's why I'm really big on being able to maximise post-cleanse. In other words, when you finish your cleanse, having the best food to pack into your body so that it can go to work, and then you can harness this growth hormone, utilise really great nutrition on the back end of it, and now go to town with building some new fresh muscle. So that it's a cycle. Like so many people see the cleanse day as the be-all and end-all. They weigh themselves before the cleanse, they weigh themselves after the cleanse, they go, yes, I lost 2.5 kilos, I had my clothes on for the before shot, I was naked. take a before shot. It's amazing they turn brown. You know, it's like fantastic. Incredible how that happens. Amazing product. So we're not focused on the cleanse days, the be all and end all. It's part of the whole bigger picture. Beautiful nutrition, supplementation leading up to the cleanse days, hit the cleanse days, come off the cleanse days, beautiful, good quality nutrition, and we're going to really harness that whole cycle and grow muscle and stay healthy, rather than the situation that's created here in Australia where it's okay, I can go out this weekend and I can drink, etc. Why? Because what am I going to do on Monday? Cleanse my sins. Yeah. So that's the challenge, I suppose, that a lot of us have with being able to perceive this whole cleanse day concept. Is what are you using to get through the cleanse, if that's the case? Jim Beam, or the kebab that you had in the evening. It's okay because you're cleansing, it's all going to go out. You wonder why in cleanse you're feeling horrid and awful. That's why Isagenics, we always recommend you have a couple of days of just getting the shakes into your body, good quality food before we cleanse, because it might be a bit too much for a person to do early on because their habits might not be fantastic. And what's coming out through the cleanse, they're using those habits now to fuel something that might feel quite strenuous to the body.
Yeah. What you just explained is why we have a shake prior to a cleanse day, or the evening, and why you break your cleanse with a smoothie or an ice cold shake. Because for that exact reason, your body is now primed, ready to really harness that nutrition. And what do they say? It was kind of take one step back to take two steps forward. That's really, which kind of leads on to the next point. So you sort of touched on this a little bit, Lox, but one of the things that, hands up who's feeling a bit nervous about being hungry on a cleanse day. All right. I'm not here to tell you that you won't feel hungry on a cleanse day, because, you know, hangry is like totally normal for a cleanse day, okay? But it is, I think it's also, hands up those of you who make it kind of like a mental game getting through a cleanse day. It's very much a mental game, sort of, and not so much, I've heard people say make friends with hunger. I mean, who wants to do that? But it is really about feeling comfortable that you don't need to kind of react straight away when you're feeling a little bit hungry. There's a really good, there's a lesson in that, how am I really tuning into how you're feeling, and being able to be sort of comfortable with that and coach yourself through the process. And it is a skill, it takes some practice. But I want to share this one study with you that showed, this was done in 2016, and what they showed was that actually before I explain this, who's noticed that the day after a cleanse day, what seemed really amazing and like you couldn't wait to eat it on your shake day is just non-consequential. You could like take it or leave it, right? Like the dinner leftovers, and you're like, I'm so going to eat that tomorrow. And then you get to your, like on your cleanse night, and then you get to the shake day and you're like, oh, no, I'm okay to leave that. What was the big deal? And part of that is because regular intermittent fasting has no increase in a hormone called ghrelin, which it's, as its name sounds, like responsible for that growling or the hunger sensation in your body or your stomach. But there they saw an increase in a protein called polypeptide YY, which is responsible for fullness, which explains why you can get through your cleanse day, and you'll actually notice that there is a knock-on effect of not eating less food to feel fuller on a non-cleanse day or on a shake day. And just leading on from that, some of you may have heard me talking about the benefits of cleanse days, but one of the things that, you can do a Google search on intermittent fasting, and a lot of 97% of the research is focused, or that the reviews are focused on weight loss. At least, you look for any, there's a lot of different, books that have been written on the subject, and a lot of them are focused on weight loss. But hands up those of you who are at where you want to be, very comfortable, you still continue cleansing because you feel good. Okay, there's quite a few of you there as well. There's good reason for that. And that is, has anyone heard of the process called autophagy? Okay, broken down, that word's come down as auto and phagy, or basically it's the automatic process of your body's ability to break itself down clean itself up, recycle, remove like old decaying tissue, which is an important part not only of your health today, but of your health in 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 years down the track. Super, super important, all right? And this is because if you want an analogy for this, this is like everyone, I'm saying everyone because I have this in my house, but I'm going to make an assumption that everyone generally has maybe a closet or a room that needs some attention. You close the door, you're like, I'll get to that. Everyone can relate, at least to someone you know, right? Unless you've had Marie Kondo come into your house, you probably have one of these, all right? Or drawers, right? The process of autophagy is basically like having the time, maybe it's a day off, maybe you're on holidays, you set some time aside where you can go through and you can clean that closet up. You can throw away what you don't need, you can recycle, you can rehome that shouldn't be there. That's basically autophagy working. That's cellular cleansing. When we talk about cellular cleansing and cellular recycling, that is the process. All right? So, the last, I guess sort of not the third secret that we want to talk about before we kind of get into the troubleshooting is the adaptogens and the phytonutrients that are in ISAGENIX products. So, be honest here, who was familiar with adaptogens prior to starting on the products? My hand is down for this. Okay, there's like 3 of you. Okay. Would you like me to explain a little bit about them and how they're in the products? All right. So adaptogens. Now I'm very honest and very transparent. And prior to ISAGENIX, this is a very common dietitian way of thinking. But I was the first to sort of consider naturopathy, Chinese herbalism as kind of the witchcraft and wizardry of the nutrition world. All right, and I've since come to appreciate. Actually, if I had my time again, and there is goals to go and study further herbal nutrition down the track, because I'm so passionate about it. I really wish I'd started out first in the herbal nutrition side of things, because of the power and the accessibility and harnessing what nature has provided us if we know where to look for it. And bottom line is, the adaptogens are very much widely available now. If you're on Instagram or it's very to have your Shazam drive. I see people kind of making up their own concoctions, and certainly naturopaths. This is where their skill is being able to make individual tonics. Tastes like bark. No, I can say that. But who actually, speaking on that, it tastes like bark. Let me just. No. Okay, well, I haven't tasted it, so I'm not sure what a bark would taste. No, what bark? Hands up those of you who were using a herbal tonic prior to ISAGENIX, and hands up those of you who think that Ionix tastes so much better and Cleanse for Life is much better way of getting that in. Well, here's the truth. Our science and development team spend so much time making sure that they taste good, as well as that they are of the highest quality, that we can actually enjoy it. Hands up those people that never go on another date without Ionix. Makes them a better parent. Don't talk to me, I've said Ionix and then I'll be fine. Lachlan, did you want to say something while I just kind of take it over? Do you want to talk a little bit about a bit to this?
I'll agree there. I didn't know much about adaptogens prior to ISAGENIX, and certainly I feel that they have an important place. I mean, to be able to almost mirror the stress effects that are going on in the body, and then give you some sort of ease or ramp you up when you need to get hyped up. It's a brilliant concept in nutrition. Certainly, who, for instance, loves the e-shots? Yeah. We chatted a little bit about e-shots in Adelaide. We were talking. Obviously, we're in love with all of our products, and I think it's always interesting just to kind of to open up a little bit on certain habits, so that we can get a bit of an idea of where we should sort of place ourselves to get the most out of the product. like coffee, you know, some people that drink coffee like once or twice a day, who also knows people that drink coffee 6 to 8 times, 10 times a day, yeah? Okay, so I can guarantee that they don't get the same sort of effect from the caffeine that they consume because of the volume that they're now consuming. Something like e-shots, wonderful adaptogens, obviously go to work in the body, de-stress the body, plus some caffeine, so obviously it's going to be a really good way of being able to bump yourself up. I had one this morning. If you don't use it too often, you get the full effect from it. If you are using it too often, you're not going to get quite the same sort of effect. People get very protective of this. Don't take away my e-shots. What's keeping me sane? You know, but I recall a story when I was at Celebration with David Gilks. And for those in the David, he's a big fellow. He's about 100, I think about 110 kilos or something. I'm about 94 kilos. And we both had an e-shot. We both hadn't had an e-shot for a while. We were both sitting there looking at each other going, gee, we're spaced out. Ooh, time to shine. And then you've got like a 45 kilo dots on a 6th one for the day. And you figure, well, hang on a second, you know, you've got 2 large mammals that are on their face basically on caffeine from one e-shot. And someone else is just leveled out. You realise that you're losing the potential to gain the full effect from that particular product. Right? So, yeah, use it when you need to use it. If you don't feel like exercising, have an e-shot, now you have to exercise. Use it with purpose.
No, I love that. And one of the things that that I saw when I came to Isagenix was, you know, I'd been sort of very much a closet user prior to my first celebration. And I remember thinking, I came and there was about 300 people in the room, and they were just, you know, high on life, and they were glowing. And I remember thinking, what are these guys on? Like, and I just realised, Ionics, and they were using the products. And prior to that, I had been using my husband as a test subject, because anything could be better than rotating through and it was terrible. It was like a dietitian's worst nightmare. He was a sales rep at the time, and so what does sales rep do on the road? It kind of limited, and especially it's a really good excuse when you just want to hang out at, you know, the Golden Arches, you know, and you know, under the guise of, you know, clean toilets. All right, so that was his excuse. So I just sort of started experimenting on him, and he started to be like, yeah, I'll take a bar here and there and have a shake. And it wasn't until I saw kind of adaptogens in action and the harnessing the real power of products that I really decided. I remember making the phone call at Celebration saying, Cam, I didn't ask, we're doing a 30-day program. we need to do this properly. And that was really the decision. So we've kind of touched on the products, we've touched on Ionics. We don't want to kind of get too bogged down because there's a lot of information, there's a lot of videos. And if you're looking for a video on each product, some of you might have noticed the corporate Facebook page that I had started, Danny Catani Isagenix, is now called, a little bit Facebook illegally, but it's now called the Isagenix ANZ page as a person. See what she posts. And it's all of the videos that I created on Plants for Life, on Ionics, on Isagenesis. So it's a step, so that the videos are all still there, you just need to scroll down and see each one. Okay? One of the things, before we move on to troubleshooting, is that who's kind of loving and using consistently the complete essentials every day? Okay, that's a lot of you, that's really good. Do you want to talk a little bit about how kind of where they fit?
We'll touch on that quickly. I mean, I think it's a great. Sorry, Chris, should you say something? Yeah. Yeah, very true, very true. You can get something free as a bonus, absolutely. But it takes the thinking out of this whole consumption, really. I mean, who remembers when we didn't have that and had all separate hubs? And then if you travel somewhere, you know, you look like a traveling sales rep with all of your products, right? It's a no-brainer. Of course, the magic ingredient, which is the isogenesis, which is so important. And as Danny said, there's a lot of research connected to that and its effect on telomeres. And I think it's one of personally my experience is a feel-good supplement as well too. We're talking a lot in terms of, you know, what the products do and how they go to work. I find that it's the one product that I get a lot of feedback that people feeling much better. So not isolating one condition or anything as such, but it's one of those products that really does go to work. So it's something that I would always recommend. And if someone's exercising, even more reason why they should be consuming as well.
Awesome. And guys, would anyone be interested before, because we really want to spend some time on some of our troubleshooting guides, some of the things that we tend to see quite often, and help you to avoid some of these mistakes. But before we do, would you like me to share a little bit on, you heard me talking about quality, the quality of the nutrients. Do you want me to kind of explain a little bit about what goes into the quality behind our products? Yeah, that'd be okay. There's like 3 of you. Is that okay? All right, I'll do it for the 3 of you. So the reason why I wanted to talk to the quality is because so one of the key ingredients in isogenesis, for example, is turmeric. Now, hands up those of you prior to isogenesis, maybe a few of you. Was anyone using a turmeric supplement before using? Okay. Keep your hands on. Now raise your hands if you noticed a difference from going from a turmeric supplement to something like isogenesis. Have you noticed the difference? Yeah, that was pretty much everyone. Most people just put their hands up. So the reason behind that is there's a couple of reasons, right? Isogenesis isn't just turmeric, right? There's a number of adaptogens and phytonutrients that are involved in supporting optimal cellular processes, protecting the blueprint that codes for every single one of our functioning body parts. Okay, but I think it's not just the ingredients that go into the products that are something to be spoken about, but there's something to be said about the quality of nutrients that goes into our products. And here's the thing, I want to use the example of turmeric because it's an easy one. So you know what turmeric looks like, right? It's a bright yellow powder. Now, when companies and manufacturers will go and will go and put turmeric into a supplement, there is a process that is actually is mandatory, and it's very hard to police, and it involves the testing of raw materials before they make their way into a product, whether it's isogenics products or any product fit for global standards. Now, the challenge is that whether it's through, maybe it's a startup company trying to cut costs, maybe it's a company where their ethics may be aren't so strong. But what often happens is this process called dry labbing. And it's the process of putting a raw material that wasn't tested into a product. So you really have no idea, or that manufacturer has no idea, you have no idea what you are actually getting. And to come back to the example of turmeric shows up in this, like it's a box of yellow powder. And turmeric is one of the most easily manipulated or adulterated nutrients or phytonutrients that exist in the nutraceutical world. Why? Because you can take a box of white powder, say maltodextrin, you can colour it yellow, you can add synthetic curcuminoids, right, so the active component of turmeric to that powder, and if you either have cut your costs and you're doing dry labbing, or if you haven't got the right people in place who know what they're looking for and are doing the right test to make sure that the curcuminoids are natural, not synthetic, then you're going to run into problems. The end user, so us, we're going to go and purchase a product where we're expecting that it's going to have these, say anti-inflammatory benefits that we're looking for from a turmeric supplement, and they're not going to be there because that turmeric has been adulterated and it wasn't tested prior. And so a company that, from an isogenics point of view, we stand so proudly behind our raw material testing and verification standards. And here's the kicker. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to share this, but hey, let's go ahead. Isogenics will often reject raw materials that don't meet our high quality standards. And I could spend a whole hour talking about this, but this is not just in the purity of the supplement or the ingredient, but it also has to do with the presence of things like heavy metals, which you shouldn't be chowing down on anytime soon. And the presence of like organic or micro organism type compounds, which can obviously, like it's not ideal for health. And so we have these tests, so we will often reject these raw materials that other companies will buy for a discount. And so those rejected, so it's, I kind of feel like Isagenix is kind of like, it's the fish that, John West rejects that makes it the best. It's kind of the same. It's kind of the same when it comes to our quality procedures and our quality standards. So does that help in understanding the power of what you've got access to? Awesome. So that's my spiel done. Did you want to say anything else? Or you want to? So let's spend some time to wrap this up. Lockie and I have had the privilege and the honour of being in and around the Isagenix community and personally using the products ourselves, personally coaching individuals in their Isagenix journey and their kind of troubleshooting journeys as well. Over the last, for me it's coming up to 8 years, you're coming up to 7. So let's share a little bit about what we see. So starting with, do you want to talk to this one? You sort of start talking about supplement complacency.
Sure.
Yeah.
Before we get started, do you want to just jump up and get a little bit of movement? Because the brain can only endure what we can. So we're just going to stand up.
This is a good point. I probably got you on the call.
Alright, just going to turn to the person next to you.
Sorry, it's okay.
Turn to the person next to you. One person's going to have their hands out like this. The other person's going to have their hands in like this. You've got to try and get your hands through the clappers.
Alright, what are you doing?
We sort of coined because I suppose we're the result of a wonderful, great company, great quality products. It's very easy to get complacent and think that that's all you have to do. And especially in the dietetics, nutrition world, people will often come to a professional in this field and they say, just tell me what to eat, just tell me what to do. And it's, as much as that sounds like fairly straightforward, it's not really what people want. They don't want to be told what to do, really, anytime. We have this own little sort of MacGyver instinct about us that we do our own thing after a while. If you've ever got a gym program and then gone into a gym and then watch someone else do something, and you like the bum on that girl and you like the arms on that guy, so you go body part shopping and you end up doing all the stuff that they're doing, and you know what I mean? Like you're a fusion of the different ideas out there in the world. And I think with Isagenix, sometimes we do get complacent because we lean a little bit too much into the products and think that that's going to be the answer for everything that we need, without taking that responsibility aside from the supplements and go, there's a part of this that I have to really step up myself. Alright, now I know that everyone's not interested in exercise, and I had to learn when I came into Isagenix that wasn't everybody's cup of tea, but what I did learn was that often when people get into Isagenix, maybe in a month, maybe in a couple of months, sometimes they are ready to exercise. Before then it wasn't their interest, now they've got more energy, they feel more comfortable, and they're naturally drawn towards exercise because they love to do something with this extra energy and put it to work.
Was anyone in that space? Because that was definitely me.
Yeah, awesome. Well, yeah, I think that's some of the most important thing to take from that. And with that, I think with relying too heavy on any one thing, I think is not a good idea. Okay, because what often happens as a result of that, and you'll see this time and time again, you'll hear it time and time again, the products don't work for me anymore. Thinking that there's something different about the products now. It's not there's no difference in the products. It's that you've got to keep evolving yourself as well too. There's a part of this that's on you. So if you lose a little bit of weight in the beginning, the challenge that a lot of us have is that we've always got this 30-day cleanse in the back of our head that's going to completely reset and change everything. So we might be blazing this trail and going a little bit off the beaten track and then go, it's okay, I'll just do a 30-day cleanse and get back to it. The problem is you come back to it and you don't get the same sort of result you did before. Maybe because you cleanse fairly regularly now, your body's well equipped, it's not going to be having so much of that huge effect like you initially did. Now it becomes a lot more of a health initiative than it is this strenuous kind of weight loss drop that people may have initially come into it on. Does that make sense? So you want to get out of that, because that's not to do with isogenics, that's got to do with the amazing adaptable ability of the human body. Okay, and now from here to move forward, you may have to do things a little bit differently, which is exciting. It's not a draw, it's not a drag, okay? It means that your body is evolving. So here's an interesting point, just to lead into the next point. If you lose 20 kilos, just as a hypothetical example, do you realize now that you're not carrying an extra 20 kilos around with you? So if you have a 20 kilo weight belt and then you strapped it to your body and then you took it off, now understand that your metabolism doesn't go up when you lose weight, especially when you're not exercising. Your metabolism is actually going to go down. You're not carrying an extra 20 kilos anymore. That's got nothing to do with isogenics, but your metabolism is going to go down if you don't do something from that point. You either need to change something about your nutrition or enter in some form of physical activity. Otherwise, you will plateau and potentially even go into the other direction. Again, nothing to do with isogenics, everything to do with the human body. Okay?
Yeah, and I think you summarised this really well, and I've heard you say this before, Lux, to quote you, is isogenics will, the products will work well, but with exercise, you put the products to work, right? And I'm not going to, I know I just said that, but this is the brainchild behind it. So this probably does lead into the next point, which is that quick fix mentality, or that, can we talk about that?
Yeah.
Because we've often thought about I hear people talking about strict 30, or I'm going to do I'm really going to knuckle down and do really good 30 days. And while that concept is, I see where it comes from. It's about refocusing. That, as Lockie was saying, it is about, so depending on where you are in your journey, if you're just starting out, you're going to see some really great results. But if your body's already had that initial adaptation and you're looking to kind of step it up, you do need to step it up, and you need to play with that kind of, that long game in mind. So if you're in a refocus, and it's a new year, new kind of challenges, new focus, new reset. Think about starting an IsaBody challenge, because that is built with the long game in mind. That is built with not 30 days, not 60 days, not 90 days. That is 16 weeks. However we're doing math, 120 days or whatever that is. Because there are phases within that, and especially pairing it with the right exercise. This kind of leads on to our next point. I'm going to talk to this one before I hand over to you. And this is something that both Lockie and I often see, is that when, hands up those of you who, and you can be honest here, or you can just do kind of like a mental hands up, but have you ever been in a situation where you felt like you haven't been getting the results that you want, so I must be eating too much, so you've kind of restricted again? Hands up anyone who wants to be brave, and there's a few of us. And that's kind of it's the common sense approach that, if I'm not losing, I must be eating too much, and so I need to cut back, and I need to cut back, and I need to cut back. But as Lockie just explained really eloquently, is that, if you've lost 5, 10, 20, 30 kilos, amazing, and congratulations for that, but you're no longer carrying that weight around. You've dropped those, like the weights belt or the sack of potatoes or the several stacks of potatoes. If you want to get the value of what 5 kilos feels like, go and lift a 5 kilo bag of potatoes. That's heavy. It's a lot of weight. And so, so being able to kind of come out of that, if this is where you're at, we really need to, the answer is not usually in restricting more, it's actually in the reverse. It's actually in being able to eat more and fuel your body with the right foods at the right time, with the right macronutrient components, if you like.
Who gets a bit nervous when you hear about talking about eating more food? Yeah. It's a general and a very broad recommendation, because what it doesn't focus on is often what type of food. So there's certain foods you can eat as much of those foods as you like, and that's why I always think it's interesting when people say, well, you know, I can't go on an eating plan because I love my food too much. Generally, that person doesn't love salad too much. You with me? Because I've never met a person who like, I make the most amazing salads regularly and his weight just doesn't want to drop. And understand, I mean, restricting yourself, lettuce leaves and etc. is not what I'm talking about. If you had salads that were like lettuce leaves and big chunks of tomatoes, you had a similar sort of Peruvian upbringing like I did. But being able to pack in lots of really good quality foods and have them, if you're eating vegetables with a plate full of vegetables where other people look at and go, is that all yours? You're probably in a really great place to be able to understand the potential for eating really good quality foods and getting a better result from them. So eating more food doesn't mean, okay, now you're going to have to up your calories, so the gaps in between you're going to fill in with extra supplements or with extra foods because you've got to increase your calories. That's called dirty bulking. And you'll end up in a place you don't want to be. Alright? So that's probably an important point there. Can I just quickly said, I mentioned something in Adelaide that quite a few people took from this. Maybe you might want to write this down, because this is we teach this in Certificate 4 at fitness colleges, where it's an expectation of results of what a person should expect within a time frame, okay? Usually within the first 30 days we talk in terms of you should have your habits in place. This is why the ISABody tends to fit perfectly within this sort of structure. You may actually get some sort of result where you actually may drop some fluid, you may drop some body fat within a 30-day period, but it's usually not the sort of result that you're going to be able to continue for a long period of time if it is that the habits that you've been able to action in that 30 days aren't something that you can continue through from there. So that's why having that set 30 days, I'm just going to go after it, I'm just going to really make it count, is not the best mentality. Use the 30 days as a stepping stone, not as an event. If you're using the 30 days as an event, you're going to come back to it, you're going to get into trouble. It's a stepping stone because from 30 days to 60 days, so up to 8 weeks, 8 weeks is usually, right about 8 weeks is usually good visual result starts happening. Okay? So from 8 weeks to 12 weeks, why do you think most challenges in a gym are 12-week challenges? Because it's a great time frame to be able to see some sort of great visual result and get some really great habits that you can continue through from there. Ours is better because it's 16 weeks, so it's got an extra 4 weeks on top of that to refine your results. You've got good habits in place, but if you're on the weight loss journey, you should be, after 8 weeks, able to see more changes regularly. Because what happens is when people start off, they're like, well, if I'm not seeing results from week 1, well, this is not for me. The more yo-yo dieting you've been involved in, or the less activity and the less frequent feeding that you've been involved in from the lifetime you've been here, will affect the potential for you to see regular results from the beginning. That's why you've got to set a solid foundation. But once you've done your initial 8 weeks of really good quality, whether it's eating and training, then you can start to see more regular results that come through from week to week. Because you've got 2 months worth of momentum behind you that will now allow you to be able to see more results. This is the challenge, is that quite often people think that how you do this week is a direct reflection of what you've been doing this week, not realizing that quite often what you've achieved this week is a culmination of the last couple of months of what you've been up to. And that's why it gets so confusing if you're ever on a weight loss journey in particular, because you do everything perfect and then you check the scales measure and all the rest of it and you go, oh, what a crap week, I've only lost X amount, or I haven't really lost anything off the scale.
Another week, you fall down on a couple of your sessions, you don't eat the right foods, you're not really in the right place, you jump on the scales or you do your measurements and it all comes down. So you clue in, well maybe I just need to eat crap food, exercise less frequently, and we'll come up with a perfect situation. Yeah, obviously that's what my body's telling me. Not realising it, that it was probably because a month ago you were starting to really get this ball rolling, getting some great momentum. We're all clear on that? So that's why we love this concept of a stepping stone for the 30 days. Use that as your time to shine, get into some momentum, look forward to that 8 weeks, get to the 8 weeks, then let's start having that sort of pressure week for week for week where we can then see results from there.
Awesome. And guys, I just, in closing, I hope what we've been able to do is really inspire your confidence in these products, your confidence in what you're able to achieve, what you have in front of you. You know, we've got an incredible community, so Lockie and I came up with these 4 C's, right? The incredible community that we've got, you know, look at the people that are around you, look at the people that are here, and link arms, because we've got this. You can't find this anywhere else. I've never seen this anywhere else. We've seen the ability to achieve consistent results when you are consistent and when you put the effort in. And we know that it's always a good time to, you know, you want to go from challenge to challenge to challenge to challenge, always working towards the next thing. So in closing, you don't have to be great to start, but you have to
Start to be great.
great.